Week 15 starts tonight, and we're a month away from the NFL playoffs. But on today's episode, we're going to go through the entire Week 15 slate. Amir's joining the show, and from game breakdowns, predictions, best bets, and more, we're going to do it all here on today's episode. So grab your favorite snack, drink, sit back, and let's talk some ball. The 11-2 Broncos are hosting the Green Bay Packers. Both teams are red hot going into this primetime Sunday affair. Amir, you're joining the show. And before we get into this matchup, I have two questions for you. One, how you doing? And two, what do you think about the new setup? Because it's definitely a work in progress. Also, take it easy on me in the comments. I'm getting better at the Streamlab stuff.
Hey, I'm doing great, and I love it. I love it. Me and you both watch a lot of Players' Choice. Well, specifically me, I watch a lot of Players' Choice, and that's what they use as Streamlab. Now, they do a lot of crazy stuff with their setup, but I love this, man. This is fire.
Yeah, ChatGPT got me through this, and hopefully I can get more comfortable with it, and it gets better going forward. But like I mentioned, the 11-2 Denver Broncos on a 10-game win streak are hosting the Green Bay Packers, who are on a 4-game win streak. Both of these teams have been battle-tested. They've had a lot of tough games this season, and both teams are atop of the AFC and NFC conferences. Amir, I think we look at the Packers as an outside contender here in the NFC side of the bracket, but we're still kind of wishy-washy on the Denver Broncos, despite them being 11-2 and a top of the conference, having a top 10 offense and a top 3 defense. Amir, what would a win here for Denver do for you?
This would be huge because I'm going to be completely honest. I still don't think Denver beats. All right. So I think, let's say if, Kansas City was the miraculous to make the playoffs. I don't think Denver beat them. I don't think with the way Houston is playing right now that they'll beat Houston. I don't think they beat Buffalo when Buffalo makes the playoffs. Denver, they're hard for me because the defense is great, but the offense is so hard to watch. Even though it says top 10 offense, it feels like their offense is like bottom 5 in the league. Their offense is hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's not super explosive. The run game is very up and down. But if they were to beat Green Bay, this would be huge for me because me personally, I have Green Bay winning this game. I think the win streak comes to an end today. I think Green Bay overall is a better unit. They have more depth, in my opinion,
Yes.
Specifically offensively. The defense for Denver is definitely better. Specifically, they definitely have better coverage guys in their secondary. But if Denver was to win this game, this would be huge. Especially, you see Green Bay, they're a -2.5, spread. If they're to win this game, they're easily the best team in football, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a conversation. I do want to say on one end, Patrick Surtain was back for the Denver defense last week, and they went back to what they were the first half of the year, which is dominant. And on the flip side, Jordan Love's playing really good football in these big-time games. And you know me, I'm personally going to lean towards the Packers. Despite them may or may not having Josh Jacobs in this matchup, I'm a big Jordan Love guy, and I think that despite the Broncos winning 10 games in a row, there's a reason why the Packers are favored in this matchup on the road in Mile High. I'm going to roll with the Packers, Amir. What are you doing here?
I'm taking Green Bay here. I think Green Bay, they go on the road, they handle business here.
Yeah, absolutely. Green Bay, of course, one of the top teams in the league for a reason, and I think this week could be a statement game for either side of or either team. I'll just leave it at that. It's an easier way to say that. Now let's go on to another primetime matchup where these teams seemingly play each other every single year, sometimes twice, especially since the big trade of Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. The Detroit Lions at 8-5 got a huge bounce-back win. They are going to LA to take on the Rams, who are 10-3, arguably the best team in the NFL, period. And I think the line from Vegas reflects that, as the Rams are 5.5-point favorites against a top dog in the Detroit Lions. Amir, I'll give you the floor. 2 top 4 offenses in this one. What are your thoughts early on?
Now, this is going to be a great game, man. Great game. I think this might be game of the week easily. This game is also very interesting. I think the Green Bay and Denver game, that's going to be more of a defensive-minded game. That game might be like 13-10 or like a 17-14 game. This game has potential to be a shootout.
Yeah.
With that being said, I'm taking the Rams here at home. I just love this spot for the Rams. They went ahead, they went to Carolina and got embarrassed. Stafford had his worst game all year. They bounced back. They play Arizona, but you can just see the leadership for Sean McVay. They went ahead and smoked them. The offense went crazy. They played great. Honestly, same thing for the Lions too. I mean, the Lions, they were on the verge of completely being at the playoff picture. They went ahead, they beat Dallas, they completely shut that team down, forced turnovers. The offense is still great. I'm just going to lean towards the team that I believe is going to win up front on both sides of the
Yeah,
ball. I just think the Rams, they dominate the ball up front. It's nuts, man. Like verse,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that Rams front is completely just allowing the Rams secondary to play better. Like you're seeing guys like Forbes, someone look decent. He went from being garbage to now looking decent because the Rams D line is so crazy. So I'm taking the Rams here at home. It's close. You never know. I could wake up one day and I might switch to the Lions
yeah.
because I think both teams are good, but I'm going to lean towards the Rams here.
Yeah, on paper, like these numbers may not spell out the same equation, but I think the Rams have looked better in every asset of football so far this year, as far as health, offense, defense, and special teams. You know me, I'm a big Sean McVay guy, arguably my favorite coach of all time. I'm going to run with the home team here. Not to mention, they have maybe the most unstoppable 13 personnel in the red zone I've ever seen, and that's largely because of Devontae Adams. But here is our weekly, recap. Last week we were both 9-5. A lot of teams that we were very confident in lost, like Tampa Bay, for example, because Tyler Shuck is finally turning the corner, or at least that's what it seems like. On the year, though, Amir has a one-game edge over me, and that's been the story for about a month now. Unfortunately, unless one of us change our picks, it doesn't look like that is going to change this week. As Week 15 slate is in front of you, we have all bye weeks behind us. So again, every single team is playing for the foreseeable future. You see the early slate as far as Thursday and as far as Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern. Amir, I want your thoughts on a couple things here. One, I think there's some interesting games here, like Baltimore and Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's playing Baltimore for the second time in 3 weeks. They got a huge upset win a couple weeks ago. Baltimore is looking to get some revenge. That could be a fun AFC North matchup. The Houston Texans defense, they look like the best unit in football right now on either side of the ball, and they've won 5 straight games. That could be a dominant showing there against the Arizona Cardinals. The Chargers go to Kansas City. Of course, the Chargers won round 1. Kansas City looks to bounce back, especially because they're outside of the playoff picture. But here's the game that I want your thoughts on, Amir, before we circle back to the others. Buffalo, Josh Allen, going to New England. These teams met earlier in the year, and New England really just controlled this game from start to finish. And they really, again, they got a huge win on the road in Buffalo, and they were able to take control of the division at that point. They still have control of it. They're fighting for the number 1 seed in the conference. Your early thoughts on this one. Why are you going with Buffalo to get a big-time win on the road in Foxborough?
This is crazy, right? Buffalo, they've been in that category for teams that's been completely up and down. And so I'm taking Buffalo here. What I saw last week, I saw the defense step up. I saw them create turnovers,
You
even
saw
though
them
Burrow
step
did.
up, giving up 36 points?
Exactly. So I saw Burrow do whatever he wanted to do, but they forced turnovers.
Yes.
At least the run defense is getting slightly better, but I think McDermott is garbage personally. But the biggest thing is they have number 17, and so he's never been swept by a division opponent in his career. I think he's going to go on the road and beat the Patriots. And the Patriots, they're fresh off a bye week. The Bills, they're fresh off of a big win, a big major win. Like me personally, I think Cincy, just based on the momentum that they showed against Baltimore, I thought they 100% should have won that game. But I mean, Josh Allen had 4 touchdowns. You had a pick six, another interception. You had like some big time stops in that second half, even though they still put up 36 points. But I think Buffalo goes on the road. I think they win. I think this is a game where Josh Allen doesn't play turnover football because at the end of the day, I mean, if they were to go ahead and win this game, I believe they'd be 9-3. I
They would
think
be
no,
10. They would be one game out of taking the division back.
exactly. I mean, like that's close, and it's like even through all the ups and downs this year, them being garbage, I mean, they could still end up winning this division. It's still in play. So I think they win here. I think Josh Allen has a monster game. I could just see an avenue in which they're going fresh off a bye week. They still have some streaky times, even throughout their win streak against these bum teams. I think this is a game where they get hit in the mouth and they get upset. not upset but beat.
Yeah, the only see, I didn't even know that Josh Allen was never swept by a divisional opponent. My reasoning for taking the Bills early on, again, Sunday, I could change this opinion, and we'll let you know down in the comment section below. It's because Milton Williams of the New England Patriots looks like he's going to be out for this game, and that creates a huge void in the middle of that defensive line, meaning if the Bills are able to run the football, everything else opens up, and it's seemingly impossible to stop Josh Allen if he has his healthy weapons around him and they're able to run the football. So Milton Williams being out for New England was kind of the tipping point for me in that one. But, again, interesting to see if Josh Allen can answer the call on the road, just like Drake May did some weeks ago. Let's move on. Into the mid and the late slate here, we talked about the big-time Detroit and the Rams game. Of course, Indianapolis, Amir. I'm just going to go here because Indianapolis, they lost Anthony Richardson about a month ago in pregame warmups to an eye injury, and he's been out ever since. Then Daniel Jones starts to deal with an Achilles injury, right? And he's battling through it. He's playing through it. It was a fibula injury. He's again, playing through it the last couple of weeks. But then last week, he tore the Achilles on his opposing leg. So not the leg that he was already dealing with, but he got an Achilles tear on his other leg. So a guy that looked like your franchise quarterback for the foreseeable future goes down with a pretty big injury, and he might not even play all of next season, at least a big chunk of it. So, for one, you can't even go with Anthony Richardson. You can't go with Daniel Jones. You put in your rookie Riley Leonard, and he got hurt. So now you're in a situation where you're scrambling. They have called Andrew Luck. They have called Ryan Tannehill. Both of those quarterbacks denied the opportunity to come back and be the starter of the Colts. But then they settled on Phillip Rivers, a guy who hasn't played since 2020, where there were no fans in the stands. We were doing Zoom calls, and he hasn't played in 5 years. He's 44. He has 10 kids. He's a grandparent. Amir, your thoughts on the Colts quarterback situation and how fast their season turned around?
Honestly, people spend a lot of time talking about how bad Cleveland has it, Detroit has it, but we got to talk about how bad Indy has it. I mean, this is so bad, and it's just sad because they went ahead, they grabbed Andrew Luck, 10 plus years ago. He was supposed to be this first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, the talent was there.
They chose to get rid of Peyton Manning for him.
Seriously, and it's like he was on pace to be great, man. He got hurt, got injured, retired early. Wasn't really his fault. They go ahead, they end up in poverty. They finally find their guy. And I feel bad for Steichen more than anybody in all this. I mean, this guy has not only helped Indy to draft really well in their drafts, but me and you have talked about it all year. We've been glazing him for the past 3 years. Straight up glazing Steichen. I mean, we always bring it up. We keep bringing him up in 2023 when he should have got Gardner Minshew to the playoffs. And it's like, he goes ahead, he drafts AR, he's garbage. Now you got Daniel Jones. He's having an all-pro year. He gets hurt, and it's like AR is so trash, you can't even play him, and you got to resort to Phillip Rivers. And I'm trying to think of an avenue of, I don't think there's anybody else that they really could get. I mean, maybe if they trade for like a Jimmy G or they trade for somebody on the bench, but it's like,
but that's the thing, they can't trade for anybody.
Exactly. So it's like you literally can't. Like, you're stuck. Like, if this would have happened before the trade deadline, they'd be in a better scenario. Yeah. But you got to resort to Phillip Rivers. Like, this dude was just coaching a high school football team. That's crazy. And so, I mean, I feel bad for them because their season is done. Their season is completely over with. And Steichen's going to pull the best that they can. But, I mean, you're bringing in Phillip Rivers against the Seahawks on the road. I mean, honestly, they might have to arrest Seattle for what they're about to do to them. I mean, it's going to be abuse.
Yeah, they're 13.5-point favorites for a reason, and we'll talk about that in its lonesome a little later on. Now, let's get into our Week 15 power rankings. I put this on hold for a couple of weeks as I tried to get this new setup going for you guys at home, but it's back. Right now, we're trying to ramp up for the playoffs in a month, and these teams' positioning in these power rankings, I guess, really reflects on what we think they can do down the line in the playoffs as far as competing for a title. At number 10, I have the LA Chargers because they just find a way, man. Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, despite Herbert being the most hit quarterback in the league, despite him having no offensive line, period, because both of his star tackles are injured, they're finding ways to win, and they just got another big-time win against the Philadelphia Eagles. That earns my respect. So it was between the Eagles and the Chargers, and I gave the edge to the Chargers at number 10, despite maybe the Eagles having the more talented roster, but the Eagles have lost 3 straight games, so they fall out of my top 10. At number 9 is the Houston Texans, led by Will Anderson. They might have the best unit in football, period. As far as an offensive group, a defensive group, this Texans defense single-handedly has carried this team back into the playoff mix. They've won 5 straight games, whether if it was Davis Mills or C.J. Stroud as the quarterback. The defense is amazing. I think that defense is going to keep them in these playoff games. And let's not forget, Tank Dell is around the corner. He needs a couple of weeks, but when he comes back, this team will have 3 good wide receivers with Nico, Jaden Higgins, and Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, C.J. Stroud, and a pretty good defense. So I'm just saying, they're a dark horse. And number 8 is the San Francisco 49ers. They're steady. They're finding ways to win games, even if it's not always pretty. The next 4 teams, we have the Lions, Seahawks, Broncos, and the Chicago Bears. These teams, to me, are just in a hodgepodge. They're all in the same tier, where on their best day, you can make an argument that they are the best team in their conference. But on their worst day, again, you start to have a lot of serious questions. As far as the Bears, they move up a spot despite really fumbling an opportunity to control the NFC last week against the Packers. I just really like what I've seen this year in general from Ben Johnson and company. They just had a rough night against the Green Bay Packers. Denver, I'm a believer in this team. However, they have to start winning some of these big-time games and prove it to me down the line. For Seattle and Detroit, look, they're good offenses in the NFC. I just don't know if they can beat the top dog, in my opinion, which can be one of 2 teams. The LA Rams at 1 or the Green Bay Packers at 3. Both of those teams, I think, can go and win the Super Bowl if the playoffs start today, mainly the LA Rams, and that's why they're at number 1. And for the New England Patriots, they're coming off a bye. If they are going to sweep the Buffalo Bills, they couldn't have had it in any better way. They've had 2 weeks to prep, 2 weeks to rest, and I think if they were to get another big-time win against the Bills, we have to start looking at them differently despite them having an easier schedule. So that is my top 10. Let's go over to Amir. You have a lot of similar teams, but some teams are in your top 10 that aren't in mine. Example 1, the Philadelphia Eagles. Amir, run us through this top 10.
So, it's crazy. Honestly, I was looking at this. I definitely should have incorporated Houston, and that's one thing I meant to right now was to talk about Houston, man. Houston, they are awesome, man. Awesome. And it's like the thing about Houston, too, is that, I think they're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and you brought up their defense, just carrying them all the way. Stroud is playing great. Davis Mills played amazing, and it's so crazy because I think it was like 4 weeks ago when they played against Jacksonville. You texted me before that game, and you were like, "Okay, why in the world is Houston minus 1.5 favorite to beat Jacksonville?" And Davis Mills is playing, and they go ahead and they beat Jacksonville by like 8 points.
Yeah.
That was nuts. And like Houston, man, I mean, they're extremely scary. That defense is crazy up front. I mean, when I'm looking at Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, it literally looks like an all-time great pass rush duo. That is scary. That's terrifying. So if I was to fix this, I'll probably take out Philly for Houston, but I'm going to talk about what I have right here. So in my 10 spot, I have the Bears. My 9 spot is Philly. For the Bears at 10, they're still on a crazy win streak. They lost against a top 2 team of football. They look great. The offense is good. The defense, they force turnovers. Ben Johnson is great. They're still going to be a top 10 team. Unless they just fall apart, they're going to be a top 10 team regardless.
Yes.
I still have Philly at 9. I was being grateful for them. Just off a talent perspective, they're still great. But I should have took them out. That's completely my fault because they looked garbage last week.
I mean you can even make the argument that, hey, if they had Jalen Carter, they probably would have beat the Chargers in overtime, and we don't even have conversations about them outside of the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, Jalen Hurts was so bad, though, man. Like, it's hard to watch him play.
4 turnovers.
Seriously, he sucks. I got San Fran at 8, Detroit at 7. So San Fran at 8. I believe they're 9-4. The Rams are 10-3. It's an avenue in which they could somehow end up with the 1 seed. I think San Fran is good. I think they're going to be, deep into the playoffs. I could see them even being in an NFC Championship. We've talked about this. Kyle Shanahan is great. It doesn't matter if they have a trash roster, great roster. They're still going to be a good football team. And Purdy is finally starting to look like he's somewhat healthy. He's looking a lot better. I have the Lions at 7. The Lions, they're starting to somewhat look better. In my opinion, they looked really good last week against the Cowboys. My issue with them is Jared Goff, and also to that defense is so trash, man. Like the injuries are bad. The secondary is garbage, man. And, I was joking around with my friends the other day. I was like, "Hey, Taron is out for the year. Y'all just got even better." So I think he's garbage as well. But Dan Campbell, his play calling has been a bit up and down in my opinion. The fourth down calls, that's obviously their mantra. But when you run an inside zone on fourth and threes, that's going to hold you back. When your pass game is surrounded by only Jahmyr Gibbs, that's going to hold you back. But they're still, off of roster construction alone, they're still a top 10 team. I got Buffalo at 6, and Seattle at 5. Buffalo at 6 might be the craziest thing, but Buffalo, in my opinion, I'm going to say it right here. I think they go all the way this year. I think they do. When I'm looking at the landscape of the NFC, not the NFC, but the AFC, I don't see a team that I'm going to be confidently taking over them in a one-game stance. Matt Milano's going to be back eventually. Bernard's going to be back eventually. Hopefully, Benford stays healthy. Their defense, they show flashes. I think they're going to eventually get better, kind of like how they did last year. And I just don't see a team beating Josh Allen and the Bills in the playoffs when it comes to just veteran leadership. So I got Seattle at 5. Seattle, hey, they could beat any team in the league. It's that
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Me and you, we keep on glazing them, but dude, even Warrior, he is a serious problem. He is an actual issue. This team is a serious issue. JSN is a serious problem. Well, he has like 1,500 yards, and the second closest is like 1,100. He's actually scary. Darnold is scary. Kenneth Walker is scary, and they still have one of the worst rushing attacks in the league. It's crazy. But then I have Denver at 4. It might be kind of crazy. I have a 10, a team with 10 straight wins as my number 4.
yeah.
But I just personally think New England is better, which they're in my third spot. New England is really good. I just think they're more so playing good, just off of just pure momentum and this their coach in a sense. But if I'm going to bet on a one game, opportunity, and the only reason why they're in my 3 spots is because they've also won 11 straight games, and like at that point you have to put them high. But when it came down to these teams that are in the same tiers as far as teams that have been the most consistent in the league, I have the Rams at 1 and the Packers at 2. I think the Packers are true contenders now. For a while, I was calling them the most overrated team in football. I was completely wrong. I think the defense is crazy. I don't know what's up with freaking Jordan Love and Toyota Thon, but he's playing crazy. And this team is great, man. And I've been, sort of giving them backlash the past few years because it's hard for me to believe that they'll win it all with having just a committee receiving corps and not having one elite guy, because we saw even Rodgers throw for 50 touchdowns in the playoffs game, and he struggled because he
Yeah.
didn't have one other guy aside from Devontae Adams. But I think this defense is better than probably any of the defense Rodgers had in a very long time. And so I just think in a landscape where the league is wide open, I think that they're right now they're by far, in my opinion, the second best team in football.
Yeah.
And I have the Rams at 1. I think they go all the way this year.
Yeah.
It's been my preseason pick. I think they go all the way. I think Sean McVay is insane, and people are not glazing him enough. Stafford is insane. It's the reason why Stafford, in my opinion, is the 5th best quarterback in the league. I saw some people have him at like 10 or like 11 before the season. I'm like, y'all tripping. And
Yeah.
Puka's great. Devontae's great. Kyron's great. Blake Corum is great. The O-line, they're playing a lot better. I don't see a team beating them this year.
Moving on here to the Great Mendoza race. I changed the name of this because it looks like Mendoza is going to be the number 1 pick here, no matter who takes him here in just a couple months. But as of right now, if the season were to end, this would be the updated NFL draft order, with the Giants at number 1, the Vegas Raiders at number 2. Both of those teams, one of those teams needs a quarterback. The Titans drop down after their win against the Browns. Speaking of the Browns, they move up with their loss to the Titans, and the Saints are at 5. Amir, we thought it was a foregone conclusion that Tennessee would run away with this number 1 pick, but as of right now, due to these 5 teams, or hey, maybe another team like Washington Commanders, who do you think will get the number 1 pick if the season were to end? Well, let's just say projecting in about a month. Who do you think ends up with the first pick?
I'll be honest. The Raiders are so garbage, dude. I mean, like, and normal teams aren't hard to watch, but this team is seriously hard to watch. And I don't think they win another game. I mean, they got so they got to go to Philly. They got to go to Houston, so back-to-back road games. Then they got to
Yep.
match off against the Giants, which we know how garbage their offensive line is. Then they got to play Kansas City in Week 18. I think they get this first pick. I think they suck. I think they're done with Geno. Geno's getting cut. They're going to keep on a Pete Carroll. But this team, they need a quarterback, and it just sucks because this year we keep talking about it. This was supposed to be one of the most loaded quarterback drafts in a long time, and now no offense, but you got to settle on Mendoza for the first overall pick. I mean that's gross.
Yeah, I think when you look at the quarterback class, there's guys like Dante Moore and Ty Simpson, two guys that should be in the conversation for the first overall pick, but they might return to school. So it's going to be Mendoza and pretty much nobody else. So I think that's going to set up a lot of opportunities for some of these teams to trade up, right? Or maybe, hey, they trade down. For example, like the Giants. You don't need a quarterback. You have Jackson Dart. So trade down, get a haul if you were to end up with the number one overall pick. I think that's always fun to see these number one overall pick hauls because it's always an astronomical amount, right? They're going to get like a couple picks. They're going to get a pick swap. I'm excited to break down those trades in the offseason. But let's go, man. On the flip side of it, we talked about the teams at the bottom of the league. At the top of the league, this would be the current playoff picture if the season were to end today. As in the AFC side of things, the Denver Broncos would walk away with the first overall seed, and they would get a bye in the first round. The 2 seed would be the New England Patriots, and they would host the Houston Texans. Interesting matchup there. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who would host they would host the Buffalo Bills. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, who regain control of the AFC North, would host the LA Chargers. Of course, we have teams like the Colts and the Ravens on the bubble, but honestly, I think these are going to be the 7 teams that we see in a month in the NFL playoffs, so it's all about seeding at this point. Amir, which matchup would you be most excited to see, or which team are you most excited to see where they place in about a month?
But the team that's interesting to me is the Chargers. The Chargers, I mean, they're 9-4, but it feels like they're like 500 right now. I think so. I haven't had a chance to look at their schedule, but I could see them finishing as like the 7th seed. And like honestly, I don't think they win a playoff game this year. I mean, like I could see all these teams just beating them, especially like even a team like Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh sucks, but at Pittsburgh, if you got to go through a play against Rodgers in his final year, play against Tomlin, that's going to be a tough matchup. Seriously, I mean, TJ Watt, he only had 7 sacks in a year. He might have like 3 sacks, something crazy. So I can see an avenue in which they lose to any of these teams above them. But I'm interested in seeing the Chargers. Or honestly, the AFC South. That'll be very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think if this were the playoff seeding in the AFC, my favorite matchup in that first round would be the Patriots hosting the Texans, simply because that defense against Drake May. Hey, all I'm saying is that we've seen crazier things and crazier upsets in the first round. Let's not forget, C.J. Stroud doesn't have a losing record in the playoffs. He gets there and he finds ways to win. But let's go to the NFC side of the bracket, and it's a lot more congested. We saw the Chicago Bears go from the number 1 seed to the 7th seed in a span of a week. That is how close the NFC race is. At the 1 seed is the LA Rams. We believe they're the best team in football. They would have a bye in the first round. The 2 seed would be the Green Bay Packers, who have been red hot. They would host the Chicago Bears in the first round, setting up a rubber match in about a month. The Philadelphia Eagles, who have been shaky, to say the least, would host the San Francisco 49ers. And as it has been the same for a couple months now, the Tampa Bay Bucks at the 4 seed would host the Seattle Seahawks at 5. We have teams like Detroit and Carolina on the bubble. They still are very well alive to make the NFC playoffs. Amir, same question here with the NFC. Which team or which matchup would you be most excited to see how they finish the year?
Dude, Philly versus San Fran, first round, inject that game straight into my veins.
They have a lot of history.
Dude, seriously. And I mean, this would be one of the most entertaining playoff runs in a minute. I mean, this NFC is absolutely loaded. I mean, seriously. And like even in the AFC, the teams don't have much firepower, but just having a bunch of teams that are just like, at the same skill level, it might be straight chaos this year. I mean, this NFC, this is crazy. I'm looking at this. This is insane. And like, imagine like a fully healthy Bucks team, with Mike Evans, Godwin,
Mike
and
Evans
they
comes
face
back
off.
this week.
I mean, seriously, and like as we're on the show, I got a notification that Mike Evans just got activated.
Oh, I didn't know.
Um,
Okay, perfect.
and so I mean, like imagine Tampa Bay against Seattle first round. That's going to be an absolute shootout.
Yeah, I'd be excited. You know, we could over the last couple of years, I think the top dogs in the NFC have been Detroit and Philly. And in the AFC, it's been Kansas City and whichever other team with an elite quarterback was, really their biggest test that year. Whether if it was a Josh Allen year or a Joe Burrow year, it was always the Chiefs in the AFC side of things, and you always had the Lions and the Eagles in the NFC. Now we could see potentially a playoffs where Philly is not a top seed in the conference. Detroit misses it. Kansas City misses the playoffs. And Buffalo goes in with a lot more questions than answers. I think, we made jokes about it before the season, but we could see a Sean versus Sean Super Bowl, a Denver Broncos, LA Rams Super Bowl. Both these teams are top of the conference, and those are my two favorite coaches of all time. That would be nasty, though. I'm not going to lie. Broncos, Rams Super Bowl.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Respect to Denver. I do not want to watch Denver in the Super Bowl. I do not want to watch that. I'm being completely honest.
I agree.
I want to watch.
I
I want to
agree.
watch. I want to watch like a Josh Allen versus Matt Stafford game, kind of like how we saw last year. I want to see
Yeah.
chaos. I want to see like Josh Allen to have 6 touchdowns and Stafford to have like 400 yards passing.
Yeah. I understand that. The only reason I would be happy for Denver is because I'm a big Cortland Sutton guy. So I would love to see him in a big-time game where he can get a Super Bowl trophy. But no doubt in my mind, I think we both want to see the Rams host the trophy this season. But let's go. Week 15 is here, and we're going to close off this show as we always do with our best bets on the week. So if you stay to this point, we're going to make you some money. Because on the year, I am at a 54% rate as far as player props, and a large part of that's because I missed. I've been going 1-1 a lot here recently, where Amir, he's been sweeping the board. 18-8 on player props this year. He's almost hitting player props at a 70% rate. Basically, he already is. Game lines, Amir has climbed his way back to 500. Hopefully this week he can get back over. But ultimately, we are above 50% in every category. We're going to make you some money. This week, we're going to start with our favorite game line, maybe give you a couple extras, and then go on to our player props. For me, my favorite game line on the week is on Monday Night Football, and I hate to wait all that while to make some money, but this is simply a system play. The quarterback
minus 2.5.
Go ahead.
It's like minus 2.5.
It is. I'm telling you, I didn't get it.
I love that. I love that play. That's a lock. I love it.
This is simply a system play because Tua, quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, won his first ever game under 40 degrees on the road in his career last week. And that's against the Jets team that is more focused on the number one pick than what is ahead of them. So for me, when I look at the Dolphins, though they've won 5 straight games, going into Pittsburgh, Monday night, cold weather, prime time, none of these things have ever really spelled success for Tua Tagovailoa. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are hungry. They're trying to take full control of this division and really separate themselves a bit from the Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they just dominate the Miami Dolphins. And hey, if it's a close game, Pittsburgh's still going to win by at least a field goal. So whether if it's a 12-9 football game or the Steelers run away with it, minus 2.5 is a lock to me. And it's on DraftKings as well as every other sports book. I would run over there and get this line in as quick as possible. Now, Amir, you're going with a matchup that we've talked about a lot on today's show, and he is your favorite player in the league today. So run us through this one because you have the best player in this matchup.
So, on paper, just based off the win streaks, based off how each team has been performing, you will lean towards the home team here, but I'm taking Bills money line on the road here, and it's crazy. This is more of like a gut feeling play. I'm super confident in this play. I don't know why, but I said it earlier in the show. I think the Bills go all the way this year. I think this is a statement game. They've looked great the past 2 weeks. They dominated Pittsburgh. They went ahead. They beat Cincy, even though that game was ugly. I think that was the very game that Joe Brady and Josh Allen both needed. I think they both came into agreement for the first time. I thought, even though Cincy's defense has been bad majority of the year, they looked really good the past couple of weeks, and Buffalo just embarrassed them. straight up embarrassed them. And so New England off a bye week, I can see an avenue in which New England comes out slow. They come out sloppy. I can see Drake May throwing an interception early, seeing Rebel not being able to fully click offensively. And I think Buffalo gets it done, man. I could see Josh Allen having like a 3-touchdown, 0-interception game here.
Yeah, we're due, just like last week, we're due for some of these big Josh Allen games like we get every single season. So just to recap, Pittsburgh and their improved defense as of late should take care of Miami at home in colder weather, mind you. And the Bills get a big upset win on the road against the New England Patriots, who are right now 11-2, and they've won 10 straight games. Josh Allen, give us a big game.
Yeah, go ahead. Also want to say, I said it earlier, I want to remind you, he's never been swept by a divisional opponent in his career. Yeah. Never has.
Yeah, that's insane, especially because when he started his career, they weren't a very good football team. So I'm surprised that he was able to beat those Mac Jones Patriots teams. Did he ever play Brady when Brady was in New England, like his last year? Josh Allen was... What year was Josh Allen drafted in? 2021?
He came in 2018 because the same year Baker came in.
Yeah, so then he may have played Brady because Brady's last year in Tampa or in New England was 2019. So, hey, he beat Brady, and I'll just leave it at that. Our favorite player props on the week. We're going to give you guys two, as we always do, and I want to remind you, and I don't want to jinx him, but Amir has been hitting at 70% rate this season. I'm just trying to catch up to him. So I'm going to do some plays like Amir does. Amir always has some obscure, just oddball picks that you don't see if you were to check out a random betting website. And that is these random quarterback props. So I'm going to follow I'm going to follow his system here. I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud under 32.5 passing attempts. He has come close to this line in his return over the last 2 weeks. However, 5 straight quarterbacks have gone under this number against the Arizona Cardinals. Why? Well, teams get up big early, and they don't have to continue to throw the football. So they are going to run a lot. This could be a big Woody Marks game. And I just think, hey, why put more stress on this offense and C.J. Stroud's arm than you need to? The defense will control the game. You can run the football, waste some clock, and I could see him throwing anywhere from 25 to about 30 passing attempts, staying under this number, continuing this trend. Amir, you're going to go with a line that's been covered with ease since his return in over the last 2 weeks.
So I'm going Isaiah Likely for over 2.5 receptions. And honestly, I love this play. The hit rate on the season isn't great, but I love this play. And it kind of literally lists off some of my notes here. Well, first of all, he's taken that tight end one role over Mark Andrews the past couple of weeks. I think he's recorded 12 targets over the past 12 targets over the past 2 weeks and 9 receptions total. And it kind of lists off the Bengals here. The Bengals give up by far the most receiving yards and receptions to tight ends. And so I was looking at Draft Edge today, and I think they give up on average, it's like 8 more fantasy points to tight ends per game tonight than the team that's in second place. Like, that's nuts. Yeah. And it kind of lists off some of these numbers. So they gave up a combined 10 receptions to Kim Kane and Knox last week, 9 receptions to Likely and Andrews 2 weeks ago, and then 10 receptions to Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry 3 weeks ago. And 12 out of 13 tight end ones have covered this line. And 3 out of 3 tight end twos in the past 3 games have covered this line as well. So I'm confident in it. The Ravens, they've been terrible at running the football. I think Lamar throws the ball 30-plus times a game because their offense needs it. It's a big prove-it game. And Likely's been playing great, man. I think he gets fed this week.
Yeah, I took him for over 2 receptions last week. I don't know why this slipped my mind. I don't know why I didn't look at this great matchup on paper and roll with Isaiah Likely this week. So I can second that player prop there. But you know what? Your second player prop may be jealous. That is my favorite player in today's video, but we'll get to that in a moment. I'm going to go with another passing prop, and this is going back to my game line. It's cold weather. This is a line that hasn't been covered in 4 straight games, and the pass rush is just going to get after this man. Tua Tagovailoa under 30.5 passing attempts. There's technically a 31.5 out there, but I don't know who bets on some of these weird sports books. So as far as the mainline sports books, 30.5 is the number you're going to get. And like I mentioned, it's a system play. Tua's not great in cold games, primetime games, or road games. So Steelers should have their way. And again, whether if it's an ugly, low-scoring affair or a higher-scoring game, I think a large part of that higher scoring output comes from Pittsburgh, not Miami. So Tua has a rough day. Their win streak comes to an end, and so does their playoff lives. You're going with my favorite prop on the week, Amir, and it was after you put it here in on the slide. Run me through this because it's been covered in 8 out of 13 games this season, and he has commanded this backfield since the starter went down with injury.
Yeah, so I'm going RJ Harvey over 2.5 receptions. And so his official line hasn't come out yet, but it's been 2.5 for the past, basically the whole entire year. It was a couple weeks where it was like 1.5, but it should be at 2.5 this week. 3.5 is a bit risky, but I love 2.5. And to kind of read some of these notes right here as well, the write-up is simple. No J.K. Dobbins. It's no more split carries. It's R.J. Harvey sort of anchoring this run game.
Yes.
And he's had a crazy high snap count these past 2 weeks because J.K. Dobbins has been out. And he's recorded 3, and a career high 6 receptions last week since he's been out. And the Packers, I mean, they have the most QB hits in the league this year. And so they give it the most – they give it the 8th most receptions to running backs this year. And so I can see a game where Bo Nix, well, first of all, they're not going to be able to run the football. He's going to get pressure. He's going to get hit all game. It's going to be a lot of check downs, and they're going to send a lot of pressure. And so also kind of to mention this, 5 out of the last 5 starting running backs have gone over this line as well. So I love this play. I can see, Bo Nix getting beat up, getting hit like 10 times this game, and R.J. Harvey getting like 5 receptions. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of UCF, that was his MO. He was maybe the best receiving back in this entire draft class. And let's not forget, there's been guys like Jahmyr Gibbs who had 10 receptions against the Packers. So running backs eat against the Green Bay Packers. And with Bo Nix being, again, this is a big game for Bo Nix. I can see the Packers just putting a lot of pressure on Bo Nix and saying, hey, beat us with your arm. And I think that's where R.J. Harvey has a pretty nice day. Amir, I don't actually hate 3.5 either. So even if it comes out at 3.5, I still think I like that because outside of Cortland Sutton and Troy Franklin occasionally, I don't know who they're going to throw to. It's not going to be Evan Ingram. So R.J. Harvey, I think, like you have projected here, is in line for a pretty good day. But Thursday Night Football is tonight. And Amir, you cashed last week. We switched it from a long shot to a double your money parlay, but that hasn't stopped the train because you've hit 2 of these in a row. Let's go for a third, and this one looks absolutely free unless Thursday night gives us another weird outcome.
Yeah, I don't see an avenue in which this doesn't hit. I don't at all. I think this is like stealing money, to be honest. And so I got the Bucs winning. Mike Evans should hopefully play this week. The Falcons, they looked terrible last week. The Bucs lost, but the Falcons somehow looked even worse. I mean, they got beat by 30 at home. JSN did whatever he wanted. Sam Darnold did whatever he wanted, and they got torched. Their defense did not play good. The defense hasn't been playing that good as of late, and so I think the Bucs win this. I was going to take the spread at -2.5, but the money line gets to that plus 100 trademark, and I got Bucky Irvin for 10 plus receiving yards. He's covered in
every game. Has he covered in every game?
So he went under week 1, but he's covered in 5 straight games. So 5 out of 6 games because he's played 6 games this year. But to kind of list off some of these numbers, he had 26 yards last week, 20 yards, 100 yards against Philly, 33 against the Jets, and 50 against Houston. I think he cashes this line. I think he's going to get fed off the backfield. If he doesn't, then I think the NFL might be rigged. I mean, seriously. He should get fed. And I think last year, too, he went over almost every single game last year, too. So I love that line as well. Then Darnell Mooney, 10 receiving yards. The Falcons won't be able to run the football much, in my opinion. I think Kirk Cousins, he throws the football. That's what he does. Last week, he went under, I think he had 8 yards, but he's been getting fed ever since Kirk Cousins got in the lineup. It was like a major interview that came out. The second Kirk started starting, they were talking about Darnell Mooney, and so I think he gets fed this week. I can see him finishing with like 30-plus yards. It should be sweat-free. If you could replace any line, I also love Rachaad White for 5-plus rushing yards. He's only gone over like 2 or 3 times since like 2022, and I think that was at like -300 or something. Yeah. So I love that as well.
Yeah, again, they're alt lines, but money is money, and if you can get a double your money parlay on a Thursday night to kick off your NFL week, that's always a good feeling. I do want to say that I plugged this parlay into 3 different sports books on BetMGM, FanDuel, and DraftKings. FanDuel gave you the best odds. I think it was like plus 102. So run over there, put this line in, because honestly, this could cash in the first quarter. Amir, did you hear the? Have you seen the allegations that Darnell Mooney kind of hates Michael Penix? Have you seen those things going around?
No, I haven't.
They were. I saw some Falcons page that was outlining it, and they were calling Darnell Mooney racist because every single one of his drops the last 2 years has come from Michael Penix, and he just plays his
No
best
way.
football with Kirk Cousins. So Darnell Mooney has his quarterback.
No way. Hey, I mean, hey, he's getting the ball, he's getting fed. So hey, if I was him, I would do the same exact thing.
Yeah, I guess Michael Penix might throw too hard. Some exciting things coming up here on the channel. As you see, we're at the end of today's show. But before you go, some quick notes here to leave here with. First off, we're on the road to 18,000 subscribers. So if you enjoyed today's episode, if you made it to this point, you did at least a little bit. So drop a like, subscribe to the channel, share the podcast with a friend. But the important thing is that in a couple of weeks, as the college football season comes to a close, I'm going to start my draft content back up here on the channel. I'm fine-tuning some of my rankings, going through all of these positions, and I'm excited to start breaking these down for, the fourth year in a row. Amir, this year, is planning to join us on a majority, if not all, of these draft breakdowns. So, Amir, I've never really talked about prospects with you until they got to the NFL. So I'm excited for that, man. I guess I'll ask you, how much work have you already done?
So I'm already looking at a couple guys already. I'm specifically gonna watch a lot of DBs this year.
I'm gonna need that help.
Yeah, I mean, like I love watching DBs. I love breaking down their tape, but I got a couple guys that's extremely underrated. Extremely great prospects. You know, I can wait to have this that one guy that I glazed all off season, and he gets to the league, and then, I'm gonna pull you with Jordan Love. I can't wait.
I'm telling you, man, it's those random people. For example, like Kyle Monungai. I didn't see anybody talking about him, but he's just my style of running back, and he's producing, so now I can take all the credit for being on that train for some time now. But yeah, guys like Cam Kinchins, Leatu Latu, random guys that don't get the spotlight, but I like what I see. They turn out to be pretty good players. Or hey, I've also had a couple misses. But that's going to do it, man. We'll see you guys next week, and who knows, this style may stay here or we may go back.